We're going to review rounding to the nearest 100. Okay, so just to review the steps. Remember, we can use our chant, or either we can draw a number line to see which 100 each number is close to. But in these examples, I am going to use our little chant to show you the steps on how to round to the nearest 100. Okay, so first let's look at this first number right here. I'm going to put a number 1 beside the one that I'm talking about. So this one is the one that we're looking at, which is the number 524. When looking at this number, 524, the first thing that I want to do is find the hundredths place because we're rounding to the nearest 100. So in order to find the hundredths place, what I recommend you do is to label each digit in your number. And we're going to start to our farthest right. So we're going to put ones. Then we have tens. And then right beside the tens place, we have the hundredths place. Okay, so I just put the first letter of each one of those words. So ones, tens, hundred. So since we're rounding to the nearest 100, the first thing I want to do is find the hundredths place. So which digit is in the hundredths place? Right, the 5. The 5 is in the hundredths place. So I'm going to box that number in or put a square or rectangle around it so I can remember that is the place that I need to remember. Either that 5 is going to stay a 5 in the hundredths place, or either that 5 is going to go up to a 6. So that means that the number 524 is either it's going to round to 500 or it's going to round up to 600. But we have to figure out which number is closest to. Okay? So with the number 524, if we're trying to figure out if it's going to stay 500 or if we go up to 600, my next step is I'm going to look right to the right of it. And I see the number 2. And if you remember the little chant that we talked about, our midway point is the number 5. So if it's 5 or higher than 5, we are going to raise the score. So 5 or more, we raise the score. Okay, so it's a number 2 that it's pointing to. That's not 5 or more. So our next step is 4 or less. If it's 4 or less, we're going to keep it and let it rest. So here, 524, we have a 2 next to it. So the 2 is telling me that we need to let the 5 rest. So 524 is closer to 500. And because we're rounding to the nearest 100, we should have 2 zeros at the end. Okay? Now let's look at our next number, which is 780. So I am going to rewrite it, 780. So I'm going to write it here. And then I'm going to find the hundredths place. The hundredths place is right here. So we're going to box it in. And then after you box in your hundredths place, you're going to look to the right. So draw an arrow to the right to the next digit. And you see the number 8. So remember, our chant is if it's 5 or more, we're going to raise the score. If it's 4 or less, we're going to let it rest. So when we look at the digit that's lying in bed, is it 5 or more or 4 or less? Right beside it, it is 5 or more. So we need to raise the score. So the 7 is going to get up, change into an 8. And then the other two digits become a 0 because we're rounding to the nearest hundred. So that means that 780 is closer to 800 than it is 700. All right, next I want you to try 312 and 431 on your own. Once you get your sheet of paper and you complete those problems, you need to come see me.